Hi, you're watching Comic Talk. I'm Josh. This is Drew. We're here to talk to you about our pull list for July 8th. We'll be starting off today with Batman number 42. Show them that beautiful Batman. That's with Snyder, Capullo, Miki, and Placencia. So we'll just jump right into Batman here. Drew, what happened with Batman?
So we see in this issue Jim Gordon continue to struggle with his whole Mecha Bat identity, who he wants to be, who people think he should be. He's got a lot of people in his ear telling him to do it, to not do it.
First off, let's just start with, what did you think of Batman this week?
I enjoyed it substantially more than last week, actually.
We're on the same page already.
You know, I think last time it was one thing to kind of set up all these things, but then it's like, all right, well, give me a little bit more. You know, tell me about these people and their motivations and stuff like that. And I think this one definitely stepped up in that way a lot. And I'm also finding myself sort of sympathizing with Jim Gordon in this role a lot more. I think everybody's knee-jerk reaction to it was to sort of criticize him because he's not Batman and he never will be. He's kind of winning me over. What'd you think?
I'm in the same boat. I'm starting to get one over on this. I agree that Jim Gordon is becoming very sympathetic. Mm-hmm. Last issue, like you said, I felt a bit separated from it. I wasn't buying in quite yet to the idea. Mm-hmm. But this time, they're really starting to dig into Jim, moving past sort of the honeymoon phase of being Batman and really trying to forge his own path a little bit. And I'm finding it much more interesting than I did previously.
I wasn't bothered at all by the fact that this was a villain of the week because, A, it leaves things open for a bigger villain. We know that there's a bigger villain that's behind this guy. And there are sort of hints, maybe Easter eggs about who it could be, but we don't really know. The physical element of all of this sort of inner turmoil that we're reading about.
In a lot of ways, I'll agree with you. I was about to sort of go in the same direction there. I see what he's doing with the metaphor. I felt like it was a little bit on the nose for me.
I mean, it's the obvious way to go.
Yeah,
but he did it, you know. And
he did it, and he does. Snyder has a thing for the city as a character. Mm-hmm. That's always kind of been his shtick with Batman, and this is just sort of an even more on the nose version of that, which is okay. I didn't hate it. And I liked that we're finally seeing a bigger picture. We're seeing that there is going to be sort of a arch nemesis for Jim. I thought that was interesting. So I do feel like this comic is now going places that I can get behind and at least continue to read and be excited for.
Yeah, I've got invested in it definitely within this issue. What'd you think of the artwork?
Much like the last one, really, I think Placencia, the colorist, I think art-wise, Placencia is doing the most interesting stuff here. I do sort of like the overall look and style of the penciling as well. I think it's a cool look. I like the way Jim, like they're making him look younger and a little bit tougher.
Yeah, he's got the high, or what do they call it, the high and tight.
The high and tight haircut, and he's lost the mustache, and he's been working out. He's thin and svelte looking. You know, he looks tough and cool, and most of the characters look pretty rough and tumble and interesting. I like the look of it, but it's nothing incredible. What did you think?
Yeah, I would agree that the colorist, and I hate to say it because Greg is a great artist. I mean, he really is. But in one of the last scenes where it cuts to like Bruce doing his thing that he's doing now, and it just pops, you know, that immediately. I mean, that was like the biggest visual pop of the issue, I think. Some of the fight scenes, again, the coloring is really like what stood out. And again, they're really great drawings and everything, but this colorist they have is just on point.
Yeah, he does a lot of cool stuff. And he does a lot of really interesting little things. Have you noticed a lot of the bordering? He's coloring the bordering in instead of leaving it just white or black to sort of match the tone of the page. I haven't seen that a lot. I like that. There's a lot of little touches that he's doing. You can tell he really likes being a colorist.
Yeah.
You know, he's not, it doesn't feel like he's doing it as a day job. He's really putting himself into it, I think. And you have to commend that. It's really drawn me into the art more than any other aspect of it. As well as the purples. I love all the purples he's using for
purples and greens
for Batman. You know, it really harkens back to the old Batman style of yore with the sort of bold blues and purples. So I like that a lot. I think that's a nice nod and touch to a classic Batman.
One criticism I have to make of Greg is the yellow belt that's like kind of loosely hung to the side is so lame.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, it's a little silly. Overall, the art's pretty good.
It's framed well. I like that.
It is, and it's above average. All right, well, that brings us to the next comic for the week. This is Archie #1. This is a reboot of Archie by two awesome creators, Mark Waid and Fiona Staples.
This is a Archie reboot in every sense of the word. And as such, the first issue sort of starts out in the manner that you would expect it to. All the main characters are reintroduced. We get to learn the names of everybody, their relationships and such. The main plot in this is that Archie and Betty Cooper have mysteriously broken up, and nobody knows why. And everybody's freaking out because they've been together always. They're just kind of a staple power couple, so to speak. And yeah, it's weird. They seem to be on good terms, sort of. Nobody can really figure it out.
Yeah, so let's just start off as we always do. What'd you think of it?
I guess I've never had the desire to pick up an Archie comic before because it seemed like it would be, at best, some sort of contrived teen drama feeling thing. You know, maybe a laugh here or there, but just really like the teen drama thing sort of turned me off from the idea. And while I do think that this has a very teen drama feel to it, I didn't find it off-putting. I thought it was pretty interesting. I didn't find my mind wandering or anything while I was reading it. I mean, it kept me engaged. It made me care about the characters. Overall, I think you did a pretty good job.
I think so too. I'll agree with you that it's definitely teen drama. There's no question of that. That's what Archie is about. Mm-hmm. But I did find the characters endearing. I enjoyed the read overall. It wasn't something that I would say was great. I'm not going to tell anybody to go out and run out and grab this unless they are maybe a teen that likes teen drama. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'll probably want to read the next issue. I'll say that much. There's a lot of cliche in here.
There is.
But I felt like as reading it, if there wasn't cliche, I don't think it would be Archie.
Mark Waid knows exactly what he's going into. I felt like him as a writer maybe came out the most in Jughead.
Yes.
I love the Jughead character.
I did too.
He's almost like the infinite devil on the shoulder, but he's also the angel in a weird kind of way. Mm-hmm. It's strange.
Yes, I really liked how the plot came together with Jughead. Mm-hmm. Do you have much Archie experience?
Not really.
I think I don't have any more than most average people have. I'm aware of it. I'm aware of the basic premise of all the characters, mm-hmm. and that's about it.
This is a small touch. The scene where he hops up on stage and starts playing guitar, I really like that there's an animation and it shows like the notes that he's supposedly playing, and they actually make sense.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at them and they do make legitimate chords. Most people, again, like won't care about that at all, but I think it was a really nice touch, and I like to see when people care about things to put that sort of attention into them. Overall, I thought it was pretty simple artwork. I mean, nothing mind-blowing. There were clever little things.
Yeah, I agree. I noticed that as well and really enjoyed it. I also just enjoyed the amount of expression in the characters, in both their facial expressions and their body language. And it's Fiona Staples, and she is really incredible with that, just in general. That's always something I'd admired with the work that she's done. So as soon as I saw she was going to be drawing this, I really felt like, oh, that's a perfect choice for Archie, and it really does shine in here. You really feel a lot of that character building comes through her ability to show these sort of complex emotional compositions of these characters, which I think really is probably, in the end, what sells the book and makes it so entertaining.
Aside from Jughead, I would agree. And I also think the exaggerated movements almost play into the teen drama sort of thing in their own way as well. You know, because it's never like, oh my god, it's oh my god, you know, like so-and-so is dating and I can't believe it. And she did a great job.
It was pretty good. If I would say anybody who is looking for this kind of book, you won't be disappointed with it. It's pretty good for what it is.
Even if you're just a Mark Waid fan, just go ahead and pick it up.
All right, so that brings us to our next title. This is Catwoman number 42. This is by Valentine, Messina, and Luride. So what happened in Catwoman?
I legitimately wrote down, it's hard to explain, you had to be there.
Yeah, that's fair. Mobster machinations.
Bunch of mafia intertwining stuff. So what'd you think overall?
I have to say the writing is good.
It is.
It really is well-written work. For me, though, I've never been a fan of really the mafia and mobster genre to begin with. So it's going to take a lot of work to really pull me into this one. I can appreciate what it is, and I'll definitely say that I think it is a good example of this genre and style. I just don't think it's my cup of tea, Drew.
I think in my mind, reading this, when they had made Godfather going into it, if they had known that they were going to have three-hour-long movies to tell the story, I feel like this is the kind of story that they would have told. Like, it is just so intricate, and everybody's motives are always in question. Everybody's loyalties are always in question. Everybody's honesty is always in question. It's just beautiful. The way that it's orchestrated. The web is huge, but it never... I shouldn't say never. I feel like by this issue coming into it, I don't think a new reader would feel it to be overwhelming or too wide in that, so to speak.
I would say that this issue was less overwhelming than the last. I felt much more grounded and comfortable reading this one than I did last month.
So her character in this in general, I feel, is just so cool. Like, she has got to be one of the coolest female leads ever, especially in this. And we've talked about before how the writer sort of works in these quotes from these powerful female, like, historical figures. The one from Empress Pulcheria this week, I feel, was extra awesome. And I love how they ended up, like, working it into the storyline. With Penguin sort of trying to acquire these historical documents and stuff like that. So what do you think about that sort of idea and what that brings to the table?
I definitely like it, and I agree I liked it more this issue than last because it was integrated into the story itself. So it wasn't, it didn't feel quite as I hate to say pretentious, but it felt more like it belonged inside the story because it had some sort of direct relevance to what was occurring. Not to say that the last one was pretentious, just that it was trending that direction.
What'd you think about the artwork?
It didn't slay me. I felt it was pretty average. It's not bad by any means.
There are some subtle things that I really like about it, and again, they're not revolutionary. It's a very minimal sort of experimentation, but the use of patterns in here I think is really great. You know, a lot of times the coloring and stuff is very blocky, you know, so you know, large portions of a page may just be like this one color, and then the introduction of a pattern over that I think just really makes the whole thing come together. It looks classy.
It does look classy.
It looks classy.
Okay, then next up, that brings us to Runaways, number 2. This is by Stevenson, Green, and Rausch. So run us through this one.
So we saw in the last issue, the kids are about to take their final exam. They managed to manipulate their way, let's say, into being able to take it in the first place. And this one, they're taking the exam, and it takes a pretty grisly turn pretty quick. And as a result of that, our runaways are on their way.
And this one, we definitely see now the status quo of Runaways has now turned. So now we have them as the Runaways, which of course was to be expected.
Right.
So how'd you feel about this issue, though?
I was a little let down. I didn't think it was... Well, it wasn't funny.
Not really.
I thought the last one was pretty hilarious. And this one just didn't... I mean, things happened and it was decently interesting and everything. Nothing really caught my attention about it, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat here. There was a few moments, like you said, that were kind of funny. Some little beats that I enjoyed regarding how they're setting the story up. Some small writing tidbits that were kind of fun or interesting, or also some callbacks to the previous issue that I liked. But overall, this really just felt like set up to get the ball finally rolling on the Runaways.
It's not, because it was so directive driven, I would say it's not necessarily a deterrent from reading the next issue. It's almost like you have to read the next issue because you feel like this one was one of those things that had to be bad to set up things that are going to be great later. But yeah, overall, this issue as a standalone didn't really impress me.
Yeah, I think both of these two issues, my thought here is the first issue sort of set up one half the dichotomy of the Runaways, of the humor and the young teen element that we always have in the Runaways. And now this issue is the other side of the coin, where we see sort of the darkness that's in the Runaways and the high stakes that the Runaways usually has.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
So hopefully now that we have sort of the prelude out of the way.
We have the dichotomy.
Right.
Move on to the trichotomy.
Ooh. So what do you think of the art here?
It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, I thought it was kind of playful. There were a few elements that I liked. The danger room. It's not really the danger room, but I love the colors that were used there.
See, that part felt a little status quo to me, I guess. It just like the pink lasers and everything.
Yeah,
and
you're
like
probably
robots.
right.
I mean, yeah. If I was to draw a danger room as a non-Marvel fan, like, it would come out like
That's
that.
what you would have drawn.
Right.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. I also like sort of some of the cartoonish liberties that they take, the oversized grins and the sort of exaggerated proportions of the characters. I think it's fun. I like the look of it. I hope this artist sticks around long enough to sort of get their legs on these characters and develop this feel a little bit more.
I will say they did a good job keeping it light when it was called for.
All right, well then that'll bring us to our next pick of the week. This is Descender number 5. This is by Lemire and Nguyen, or if you don't know anything about Asian culture, Nguyen.
Them Nguyen boys. So the team lands on a planet named Gnish, and they are introduced to the king there, who's this big, gross, pink-looking thing. And he has a rather brutally fun time trying to extract information from them, we'll say.
What do you think of Descender number 5? Actually, let's back up a step. This is a new pick for us.
This is.
What are your thoughts?
I was pretty impressed overall. Being the total Jeff Lemire mark that I am, the little boy robot totally reminds me of the protagonist in Sweet Tooth. Like, he's just this little sweet, naive ball of emotions. It just reminds you of like a little kid cousin or brother or something that you've had in your life, and it's fantastic. I thought the artwork was really well done. I don't really have a lot of negatives to say about this. What about you?
No, I can't say I have too many negatives per se. I think it's written well. I think the art is definitely unique. It has its own thing with the pencils and the watercoloring.
The other thing is the way that the font changes for each person speaking. I love that.
Yeah, that is
just
very
a little
cool.
touch, but
it definitely makes it easier to follow, especially for a new reader, because you don't. I personally don't yet know the speech patterns of the characters, so it's hard to pick out who's speaking to who. And this really helped a lot in the way that they did the lettering, and even the letter boxes themselves, the actual dialogue box.
Just the way that it portrays like the tone of that person, it's amazing. Like when you read a robot saying something, you know that it's a robot saying something.
I like that at the front of the comic we do get a synopsis of what's happened up to this point, so I was able to jump in and felt comfortable reading right off the bat. Hey, did you feel lost on this?
See, I didn't even notice that page, and at first I felt a little bit lost. A good halfway through the comic, I felt pretty sure of myself. Just, through context and everything. You can figure most everything out.
Yeah, Lemire's done a good job here, I thought, of providing the context and just enough exposition to keep you aware of the basic gist. It's it's a sci-fi space epic, so you don't need to know every detail. I didn't feel like it mattered if I didn't know what planet they're talking about or what the next step in the mission is. It's very focused on the now and what's happening at this moment. And also gives you just enough foreshadowing up into the future to sort of keep you burning along as you go. In regards to the art, how'd you feel about it?
I think it's one of the most beautiful books we have ever done.
Do you really?
I love it. You can see, like on watercolor paper, some of it's like sort of, I don't want to say riveted, but there's definitely a texture to the paper itself. And you can see that texture in some of the frames, and he even like kind of works with it, it seems like, in a way. Like the texture's only there when it enhances things. I don't know how we went about doing that, but it's genius. I love it.
I felt that the art standalone on its own was wonderful. I really like it. But in service to the story, I felt like it hindered me just a little bit in the reading, in that it was so sparse that at times I had difficulty actually keeping track of who and what was occurring on the page, which is a rare complaint for me. I'm usually, I like that style over substance most times, but I felt like this went to a degree that, because it was my first foray into the characters, I felt at times I had to look back over it. But it's an interesting stylistic choice, and I'll commend them for doing something that's not just your standard digital on digital.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, and I think on a continued read, adjusting to the style, I think I'll enjoy it more and more as I go. All right, then that'll bring us to our second to last book for the week. This is Suicide Squad number 10. This was by Ryan Briones and Blonde. So give us the synopsis on this one.
The team continues their sort of infiltration of this terrorist group with ties to the League of Assassins. But things get a little tense when one of the members kind of likes it with the group, and the other one just can't stop being an asshole.
Yeah, so overall, I'll just go ahead and start and say that I enjoyed this one more than the last.
Same. On all fronts, I thought the character exposition was better. I thought it was funnier. I feel like even more happened.
I thought this was just a lot more playful, which for me, Suicide Squad, in my imaginary world of how comics are supposed to be, Suicide Squad's supposed to be a little bit fun.
Definitely.
And a little bit sort of dark and wrong.
Yeah.
And I think they've done a much better job this time of getting that fun factor in there. There was some good funny moments. So what did you think?
This one overall I thought was pretty hilarious. Most of the comic relief comes from friends Captain Boomerang and Harley Quinn. And on the Harley note, it seems like we're right on the edge of some big character exposition with Harley Quinn, which I always love. And it's so rare. Even if you're somebody that reads her solo series, you're probably more starved for it than I am, like being a Suicide Squad reader, because it just doesn't really happen that much. Big Sage. Let's talk about that.
Okay, what are your thoughts here?
So, in the DC universe, I believe her name is Renee Montoya, has been the question as of late. She's taken over the no-face mask and the newsman get-up and everything. But here's Vic Sage.
Right.
Here he is. And he's in Belle Rev, and he's snooping around, and he's trying to get information on the place.
So do you think this might be a catalyst? Do you think this is an intentional usage of the character to
It has to be.
bring him in? Or do you think they're just pulling from their hat of possible characters?
I think it has to be, especially the way that they built him up in this issue alone. They're calling a lot of special attention to him. In my dream of dreams, this is a launching point for a question series on Vertigo with Ed Brubaker as the writer, who's probably, he is still under contract with Image, so it's not going to happen, but I'm still crossing my fingers for all of the above until then.
Okay, yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. I think it'd be great to see the question come back. Overall with this issue, regarding the art style here, what did you think there?
I think it was pretty standard DC overall. I think it added to the playful element pretty well. I think, even regarding the last issue too, when things get a little bit serious, maybe it falls just a tiny bit short, but it doesn't really bother me.
I think I agree for the most part. I liked some of the visual characterizations. I really liked the portrayal of Black Manta. I think that they're really killing Black Manta in regards to the artistic representation of the character. He looks mean and cool. I love him with his helmet on, with his pink laser eyes.
Yeah,
I think he looks really cool, and I think
which is odd because I'm not a Black Manta, really Aquaman fan.
I think in the Aquaman stable of characters, I've always felt Black Manta was the strongest character in Aquaman world.
Definitely, but again, not being a big Aquaman fan, I just wasn't sold on the idea of him being in there. But yeah, reading this, he's pretty badass. Again, with this, the character exposition continues to blow me away. I feel like we learned so much about each of these characters in every issue, and so far we got Harley got a little exposition. Reverse Flash, kind of by consequence, got some. We get to see Parasite, I believe, for the first time actually doing things. And I believe he's sort of taken over King Shark's role as the big grunt guy, So there's not a lot, but, at least we see him, and it's fun. Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, Black Manta. We know more about all of these characters now.
Yeah, Ryan does a really good job of using exposition to sort of drive these characters along. It never feels forced. I never feel like the characters are just speaking for the sake of the exposition. I feel like the exposition is really well hidden inside the dialogue and really moves the characters forward in a good way. I'd say that's the strongest point, is his use of exposition here.
It's never awkward.
No.
And again, we have no narration whatsoever, but the dialogue is just so strong it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Maybe Bendis can take some notes.
Old Man Logan #2. This is Bendis, Sorrentino, and Maiolo.
Very quick read overall. It starts out with Logan being knocked off the wall that he climbed in the end of the first issue, and then he gets introduced to all these people that he thought he killed that were his friends.
In sort of classic Western fashion, we don't get a lot of dialogue. A lot of things are just sort of shown to us. The art really is the prime plot mover in a lot of this issue.
Yeah.
So how'd you feel overall with it?
I think it was better than the last issue because going back to that sort of Western thing, these sort of stoic leads and everything, that's all well and good, but you have to have people for them to balance off of. They don't speak a lot, and they certainly don't speak a lot about themselves, but you have to have other people do it for them. And this issue, I think, really delivered with that. There was a lot of people that told us things about Logan that we had been wondering that we knew, again, he would never himself talk about. What did you think?
I personally liked this issue a lot. I liked the previous one quite a bit, and I think I may have liked this one more. In fact, I'm pretty certain I liked this one more. I liked the setup. Being a long-time X-Men fan, I enjoyed the banter and the back and forth with the X-Men when he does come across them. Just overall, I felt like this is what I want out of a Wolverine comic, more than pretty much any other Wolverine comic I've read. It's visceral. It's he's a silent protagonist. I mean, he speaks a few times, but it's mostly Logan-esque expletives. It's
or grunting or
grunting or just being generally mad or gruff, which is Logan at his best.
Not to mention, I believe Sabretooth at his best in this. Sabretooth, I really bought in the role that they're trying to portray him.
I agree. He was very interesting and
just so like animalistic, you know, and really probably everything within Logan that he tries not to be, you know, taken, you know, to the power of 10.
Overall, I really liked this comic. Again, it just felt like Wolverine to me. It felt like the Wolverine that I've been missing when I read things that have Wolverine in it. It's just sort of bloody and dirty and just beat up. You know, he just sort of tumbles through this issue, just getting knocked around and getting back up again, which is sort of his shtick, and it's done well here by Bendis, but especially by Sorrentino. I think Sorrentino.
Yeah, some of these pages are just so pretty to look at.
They are. It's so cool, and the way they lay it out is beautiful.
It's a fast read, but I would say enjoyable read.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this week. Check back Friday when we look at Nick Spencer's Ant-Man Second Chance Man. That's a collection of Ant-Man 1 through 5. And check back again next Wednesday as always, where we'll do our pull list review. Also like and subscribe below. Give us some comments about things that you think. Let us know if there's anything we should read, anything you'd like to know about. Also, if you look up there somewhere, there's Facebook and Twitters and the tweets. So you can click on those and see all the other dumb stuff we say. Other than that, thanks for stopping by.
Peace.